You know what that sound means. It is time for the Vol Bros. Welcome. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin, or excuse me, the good Byron Young, not the one that went to the Las Vegas Raiders, the one that went to the Los Angeles Rams. And we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros. And we are so excited to talk about some sweeping going on up in Knoxville right now. And then some Vol NFL draft results as well. So we're going to start with baseball. Back to back SEC sweeps for the Tennessee Volunteers. It's a huge deal. They really, really needed 3 wins this weekend, quite honestly, because the next 3 weekends are not going to be easy. I know some people might be thinking, well, they're playing at Georgia. Yeah, well, ask Arkansas how that went. So it was not easy for them either. And Arkansas is a very good team. So very, very good. 3 wins today, especially today. What were your thoughts about the weekend sweep or the Thursday, Friday, Saturday sweep?
I think the thing that stood out the most to me was just the raw hitting.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, it didn't matter who they put in the lineup, everybody was putting barrels on the ball to, in a 3-game SEC series to score 33 runs on 36 hits is just unreal. And it came from a wide range of guys. Every hitter was dangerous all weekend. I think Mississippi State's pitching staff probably went into their coach at the end of the game 3 today and was like, we don't know where to throw these guys. They have full they have full plate coverage. Everything we throw, they hit. And I mean barrels. It was incredible, especially yesterday and today, how many balls were just jumping from the plate. It's normal to get a seeing eye single here and a little flare there. We were just hitting ropes everywhere. Even the outs were hard outs. It was pretty stinking impressive.
Absolutely. Drew Beam, fantastic on the mound. Just an excellent, excellent outing, complete game. And they run rolled him. That's back-to-back SEC series with at least one run roll game. That's awesome, man. Absolutely awesome. So I have a question then about Vol baseball, because it seems as though they've gone from 5-10 to 11-10 in conference play in 2 weeks. So what changed? What happened? What do you think is the catalyst for this turnaround?
So I was just looking up the stats from yesterday because I think we'd be remiss if we didn't also point out the bullpen yesterday. The bullpen, Chase Dolander got shelled, and the bullpen came in and just completely shut Mississippi State down. And it was a long list of guys, but they did a fantastic job coming in and just holding things where it was and giving our offense a chance to make a comeback. And to be down 7-2 and to come back and win 12-8, that's just really, really stinking impressive by the bullpen. Xander Sechrist comes in, goes an inning, strikes out 2, no hits. Bryce Jenkins comes in for a third of an inning, gets hit hard, gives up 3 runs. But then A.J. Russell comes in, gets the next 2 outs and quiets it. Then Seth Halverson comes in, goes 2/3 of an inning, gives up a run, but he threw well. And then Camden Sewell comes in for the last 3 1/3, strikes out 7, doesn't allow a hit, and just slams the door. And, when you look at a team in the first 3 innings, Chase Dolander gave up 4 runs on 5 hits. Didn't really have good command, was giving up a lot of hard line drives. And from that point forward, in the next 6 innings, that bullpen, other than Bryce Jenkins, that bullpen gave up 1 run on 5 hits over the next 6 innings. Bryce Jenkins gave up 3 more runs and 3 hits, but the rest of those guys were lights out. And, to come in and hold a team that was swinging a hot bat and just completely shut them down, especially A.J. Russell, Seth Halverson, and Camden Sewell. They were exceptional. So anyway, to your question, I think it's 2 things. The team is pointing to 3 days they spent with Quentin Eberhard a couple of weeks ago, which is the UT strength coach, where they got a little tough love. One guy said he's never run so much in his life. One guy said that it was pretty much you were either going to survive and improve or you were going to quit. You know, Tony Vitello essentially turned the team over to the strength coach for 3 days. Coaches weren't around. The strength coach ran the show, and they spent 3 days in a come to Jesus boot camp with him. And a lot of the players are pointing to that and saying that that was the turning point. I think another option is look at who has been stepping up the last 2 weeks. Look, a couple of months ago, month and a half ago, Tony Vitello had an interview, and we talked about this. Um, he named Christian Scott and Hunter Inslee as guys that he wanted to lead. About a week after that, he mentioned Jared Dickey. Well, if you look at the last 8 games, probably the 3 most consistent players on the roster have been Jared Dickey, Hunter Inslee, and Christian Scott. And I think those guys have finally realized that this is their time and they've got to take the reins here. So it's been neat to watch them really step forward and lead this group because they are very young. Like, people forget that just because they're talented doesn't mean they're veterans. And so, 3 guys, Jared Dickey's not really a veteran, but he's played a lot of innings. 3 guys that have a lot of maturity and are really, really holding everyone accountable to how Tony Vitello wants them to play and how they need to approach the game. So I think it's probably a combination of those 2 things. I think Quentin Eberhard's boot camp probably came at a good time. And probably Hunter Inslee, Jared Dickey, and Christian Scott were 3 of the most vocal survivors of that boot camp. And so it kind of solidified them as the leadership of the team.
Yeah, it was interesting today as they were asking Camden Sewell during that in-game interview what changed, because they asked him the same thing. What changed? And he started mentioning, that he has seen players hanging out more off the field, and he felt like that was impacting what was happening on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And that's interesting too. I'm going to go a totally different direction, and I'm going to say the emergence of Cal Stark is what has changed for this team. And here's why I think that. If we look back at 2022, that team stability was a big deal on that team. Like, there was no shaking up of the lineup every single game, especially the batting order. You knew what was happening pretty much every single game. Sometimes 1 and 9 might be flipped depending on how Tony was feeling. But 2 through 8, you pretty much knew the order every single game. And periodically he'd say, Blake, go pinch hit and hit a home run. He'd be like, okay, you go up and hit a home run. Like that's how it went last year. Everybody knew what everybody was doing every day. There was stability. There was a sense of routine in that. There was a sense of, I keep going back to the word stability. People could be confident in where they knew they were going to be coming up to the plate. And we have not had that this year until about 2 weeks ago. And every week, not every weekend, every game, even in series games, the batting order could look totally different. That's why I am so appreciative of Jared Dickey, because like you just said, he's been one of the most consistent players on the whole team. And my goodness, he's hit first, second, third, fourth, and maybe fifth so far this year in the lineup. He's been all over the place, and he's always produced in every spot. But the thing that was causing so much flux and so much unknown in the batting order was who's going to be at catcher. Yep. If it was going to be Charlie Taylor, well, then that meant he was probably going to hit 9th, maybe 8th. And then you probably have Jared Dickey out in left field. And, then the only question really was who was going to be the designated hitter. Was it going to be Griffin Merritt or Dylan Dreiling? But then if Jared was catching, well, does that mean Griffin's in left field, or does that mean Kavaris Tears is in right field and somebody else is in left field, or there was so much unknown in everything. Was it going to be Christian Scott in right field today, or Is Hunter Inslee, where is he going to be hitting in the lineup? Um, and it all centered around who was going to be catching. If Cal Stark was back there catching, then we knew, okay, that meant Jared Dickey was going to be in left field. Cal Stark was probably going to be hitting eighth or ninth. One game he hit seventh, but pretty much other than that, he's pretty much hit eighth or ninth every game. And all of a sudden, he started producing at the plate, and he became the guy on SEC weekend series. And that one domino that fell allowed stability everywhere else. Because now the only question each day is who's going to be in right field and who's going to be the DH. Is it going to be Christian Scott in right field, and that means either Griffin Merritt or Dylan Dreiling is going to be the DH, or is Griffin Merritt going to be in right field and Dylan Dreiling DH and Christian Scott has a day off? And it all centers around Cal Stark being at catcher. Because that domino fell, we now know where Jared Dickey is going to be every day. And for Jared Dickey's benefit, he knows where he's going to be every day now. And the only question now each day is who's in right and who's DH. That's it. I sincerely hope that the batting order that they had today is the one that they stick with for the rest of the year. That is a really good lineup.
It is, but Griffin Merritt and Kavaris Tears weren't in it. So
I know.
They've got the opportunity to go righty lefty and mix the lineup up a little bit with those guys. And I'll tell you, the more Griffin Merritt swings the bat, the more I think he needs to be in the lineup every day.
Oh, 100%. I sincerely hope he becomes a DH. That's what I hope happens, that they can't keep him off the field or out of the lineup. Then he's got to be the DH. All I meant was I think that the number order that they were in today, whoever's at the DH spot, let them stay there in that spot in the lineup.
Yeah.
But with Maui Yahuna leaning off, Hunter Inslee hitting second, Jared Dickey hitting third, Burke hitting fourth, and then today fifth was Christian Moore, and then sixth was Zane Denton, and then the DH at 7. I mean, that's going to get the job done right there, because then you've got Christian Scott or whoever's in right. If Griffin Merritt's in right, then that can change some stuff up. But that order is going to get the job done. That whether it's Dylan Dreiling or Griffin Merritt at the DH, they can stay right there at the 7 hole, and that lineup will be very productive. And so I hope for the rest of the season, that's the order we see. But also, I think finally the players feel a little bit of stability. And it's all because Cal Stark stepped up behind the plate and is doing a good job back there. Because now Jared Dickey, we know where he's going to be every day. We're not relying on Charlie Taylor's hitting anymore. So Cal Stark stepping up behind the plate, I think that is one of the major things that turned the tide for this team and really changed a lot of the momentum we see, because for the first time all year, there's stability and people know where they're going to be before the day starts. There's not, imagine like in Little League, that you post the lineup and all the little kids run up and they're like, where am I today? That's the way we were in Division I college baseball every day. They were like, where am I going to be today? Like, where in the order am I going to be? For Jared Dickey, he's like, am I hitting first or fifth today, or second or third or fourth? And now there's hopefully going to be stability moving forward of everybody knows what to expect. Everybody can mentally prepare for the game going in, knowing, okay, here's what I got to do, and here's where I'm going to be doing it. That's my take on it. We have stability for the first time, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, baseball players are creatures of habit. They like to know where they're going to be and what they're going to be doing. That's definitely important. You mentioned Camden Sewell made the comment today that he's noticed a lot more guys hanging out together outside of baseball. That's definitely a big part of this, because Griffin Merritt said the same thing Thursday night after the walk-off. He, when the SEC Network was interviewing him, he made the comment that it takes time. I can't remember exactly how he said it, but paraphrased version, he said it takes time for guys to get to know each other. And he said people forget that we have a lot of new faces here. And it takes time to build relationships. And he goes, you like to try to knock all that stuff out in the fall, but sometimes that's not enough time. And he said he felt like they're just now really starting to get to know each other and come together. So it's interesting that two different guys, and a hitter and a pitcher, in two separate interviews on the same weekend, both commented on the fact that people are now finally starting to gel.
And my goodness, what a tremendous interview Griffin Merritt is.
He's a good one.
I loved what Tony Vitello said after the game. That somebody asked Tony Vitello about that, and he said, "Oh yeah, man, he's like a politician up there talking to the camera." I mean, everybody knows he's a really good interview. Well, any other thoughts about the baseball team before we turn our attention to the NFL draft results?
I may jinx them, but honestly, Georgia is a tough place to play. But I think our matchups work really, really well, and I wouldn't be surprised if we sweep them down there.
Oh, yeah, I agree totally. It's just not going to be easy because they're playing well. And like I said, Arkansas, they had to go in there, and it wasn't easy for them. But I totally agree. I mean, that's the thing. Tennessee, they have the ability to be the best team in the country. I mean, my goodness, look at what happened with LSU. They should have won this. They should have swept that series. They handed them the first two games with defensive mistakes. I mean, that's the bottom line. You get picked off at first, and this was an offensive mistake, but you get picked off at first, and then next pitch, boom, could have been a 2-run home run. You lose the game by one. I mean, like it's just you let a fly ball drop in the middle of the infield, you lose the game by one. I mean, that series, they have the ability to be the best team in the country, and I think we've seen that the last two weekends. So hopefully that happens again in Athens. Well, the NFL draft, after 3 rounds, the most picks of any team in the country was Alabama, 8. The second most picks in the country after 3 rounds was the University of Tennessee Volunteers with 5. And then there were several schools at 4. So the second most picks in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. When was the last time we could say that? That was awesome, man. That was fantastic. Georgia had 4. Tennessee had 5. That is awesome. And so just a few minutes ago, actually, at 6:18, so 30 minutes ago, the New York Giants tweeted this out. I'm assuming that means that we can be confident Jalen Hyatt's going to be wearing number 84 now. That is pretty cool right there. Big day for Jalen arriving on site. So that's really exciting for Jalen. Congratulations to him. I'm sure we all are, well aware by now where all the Volunteers are going to be heading as far as where they've been drafted. Obviously, Darnell Wright, first round, top 10 draft pick. That's awesome. Fantastic too. The Bears. And then 4 Vols in the 3rd round. So I'm going to ask a question that I haven't seen asked much yet. And because we've all been talking about where they're going. All right, well, let's ask a different question. Which of those 5 guys do you think is in the best situation for immediate success? And now I know success can be defined many different ways in this scenario. It could be which one's going to see the field first, which one's going to have immediate playing time. It could be which one's going to put up the biggest numbers first. So how are you answering this question, Rustin?
If we're talking immediate success as far as immediate playing time and the opportunity to contribute right away, I think it's probably Byron Young with the Rams because they struggled last year with pass rush. They're pretty good in the interior defensive line, but last year they were horrible on the pass rush, and so I think they're going to turn him into a specialist. You'll see him in there every 3rd down situation, and his full job is going to be pin your ears back and go get the quarterback. If immediate success means the place that is the best fit long term. I don't think Hendon could have asked for a better situation.
I think that's a great point, because the Goff contract runs out in 2 years, and there is no guaranteed money after that. And
Well,
so,
not only that, I've been watching a lot of Detroit media. It's pretty clear, like everybody in Detroit knows Jared Goff's gone after 2 years. They're not going to pay him again.
I mean, that could be an ideal. You're right, an ideal scenario for Hendon Hooker. So this is interesting.
His current competition to back up Jared Goff is Nate Sudfeld. So I don't think Hendon's too worried about that one. So Hendon's going to walk in. Point. Yeah, Hendon's going to walk in and be the number 2 guy right away. They'll take it easy in the preseason to make sure he's healthy. They'll take it easy the first few weeks to make sure he's healthy. But then he gets to be the number 2 guy for essentially a year and a half and learn the system and, connect with the offensive coordinator. And then, it's also a numbers game. People forget that. Like, money and salary cap is a big part of this. And Jared Goff is going to expect a big payday in 2 years. And apparently everyone around Detroit is saying the Lions aren't going to be willing to give it to him. So Hendon can literally spend a year and a half as the number 2 guy, learn everything, gel with everybody, and then in year 3 walk right into the starting job because that's what they've drafted him for.
Yeah, how in the world could anybody not root for Hendon Hooker? And I'm super excited for him. I wish him nothing but the best. And man, it's going to be hard to not pull for the Lions now. Like on Thanksgiving when they're playing, all of Tennessee will be watching the Lions now. So this is interesting. So there are 5 Vol draft picks. You just mentioned 2. Well, I'm going with a whole different 2. So we're hitting 4 of the 5 right off the bat here. That's awesome. So as we mentioned, you can really define success in different ways here. And so I'm going to do the same thing Rustin did. If we're saying immediate success is they see immediate playing time, I'm going to say the best scenario for that is Darnell Wright. Because last year, poor Justin Fields spent more time on his back than he did standing upright. And I think if Darnell can come in and just give him an extra second and a half, if he can just give him an extra 1 second, he's going to be like, put that guy over there. I mean, as far as like the opportunity to step in and see the field, Darnell Wright, I think is that guy. But here's the thing. If we're defining immediate success as the ability to put up big numbers right away, well, then that is not Darnell Wright because offensive linemen have no numbers. That no one's going to be turning on Sports Center at night to watch a right tackle block a guy really good. You know what I'm saying? They're turning it on to see 50-yard bombs and stuff like that. So since we're talking about 50-yard bombs and stuff like that, my pick for the person who I think will have the most immediate success as far as like getting seen in the media is this guy right here, Jalen Hyatt. And I'm showing this on the screen for those of you who may be listening to the audio version of this. For those who are, I don't know if it might be too small. I don't know if people can see it or not. But last night, Jim Weber tweeted out, how badly did the Giants need Jalen Hyatt? Okay, well, Hyatt had more touchdowns against Alabama last season, 5, than any New York Giants wide receiver had for the entire season. The most receiving touchdowns any receiver for the Giants had last year was 4. Jalen had 5 in one game against Alabama, who doesn't stink. And so, when you consider the fact that Jalen had 15 touchdowns for the whole year, he had more than triple the total number of the next closest guy for the Giants. Now, I understand, obviously, it's totally different, competition. I get that. But obviously this is a situation where he can step right in and they can have an immediate deep threat with Jalen Hyatt. And so I would not be shocked if you see the exact same thing we saw this year where they were like, hey, Jalen, go run fast. And he just takes off and they throw it deep to him. Um, I think you could be seeing Jalen Hyatt highlights on Sports Center this fall because he'll be catching a lot of deep touchdowns because he'll be their deep threat.
I'm curious where they're going to play him because last year they drafted Wandale Robinson and he started almost every game in the slot. So I'm wondering if they're going to slide Jalen outside and let him be a vertical threat down the sideline because they really don't. Like, they have Darius Slayton. He stays injured more than he stays healthy. They've got Sterling Shepard. He's kind of been a bust. Like, he's been relatively consistent over the years, but he's not. No defensive coordinator in the NFL is worried about Sterling Shepard. And then they went out and they signed Paris Campbell from the Colts, who, again, he's just kind of there. Daboll did go get Isaiah Hodgins, who was with him in Buffalo. So I'm almost wondering if they're going to start Jalen at one of the splits opposite of Hodgins and keep Wandale Robinson in the slot because Wandale can't slide out and play outside. And I can't fathom why they would draft another slot receiver and, especially when a rookie started every game in the slot.
Yep, I think that they're thinking. Well, okay, if we talk about that, hey rookie, welcome to the league documentary, the coach straight up, the assistant coach of the Cowboys straight up told Jalen, you have a specific skill set, and he said, what's that? And he said, your speed. Like, people know, and that means that the Giants know that too. They're gonna use him. They're gonna say, hey, go deep, and then that means that helps the Giants because other defenses are going to have to keep that in mind and accommodate that with their defenses, keeping a safety over the top over there because they know he's going deep, and that's going to open up other stuff for the Giants over the middle and the opposite side of the field. So I think that he could be a factor immediately, and that's really exciting for him. It's a fun time to be a Vol. We're having a lot of success right now. The Lady Vols are playing, I think, as we speak.
Yeah, they're up 3-1 in the bottom of the 7th.
There you go. So that's good. Hopefully they get those 3 outs and get that win.
There's one thing that's been really weird though that I was honestly kind of shocked by. So the Ravens are on the clock right now with the last pick of the draft. The draft is about to end. Princeton Fant, Trey Flowers, Jerome Carvin.
That's the one.
Jeremy Banks. How did none of these guys get drafted on day 3?
Jerome Carvin's the one I'm most shocked about. I would have bet $50 he would have gotten drafted.
I would have thought Princeton Fant would because, the NFL has limited rosters and he can play multiple positions, which immediately makes him really, really valuable. That one stuns me.
Yep.
And the Ravens just took some defensive end from Toledo. So the draft is now officially over, and all 5 Tennessee players that went in the first 3 rounds are the only 5 that got drafted. So now I guess we'll wait and see where the others end up as undrafted free agents. But I'm just really surprised that out of all of those guys, not a one of them got picked today.
Yeah, what that means is that the Vol football Twitter account's about to explode with all of those guys undrafted free agent things happening the rest of the evening because, that's what's about to happen the whole rest of the evening. Their agents are on the phone right now, I'm sure, as we speak. And that's what, we'll see all the graphics tweeted out from Vol football's Twitter account this evening where they've signed free agent deals, probably actually within the next hour and a half, 2 hours. But it'll happen rapid fire now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm shocked that Jerome Carvin wasn't drafted. He's a legit pro guard. So that one shocks me.
Mm-hmm. Even Jeremy Banks. I mean, as much of a head case as he is, and as much of a
I think that
problem
was
as
the
he
issue.
can be,
Yeah.
but Jalen Carter went in the first round.
Yeah,
Like,
that's fair.
I mean, they overlook, if you're good, you're good. Like, they think they can save everybody, they can rehabilitate anybody. I would be fascinated to know why no one in the 7th round. I mean, there were linebackers taken in the 7th round that were nowhere near as good as Jeremy Banks. Like, what happened that caused them to just say, nope, not doing it?
All right. So let's end the show by one last thing here. 1 year from now, as we're talking about the 2024, 2024 NFL draft. If you had to say right now, yes or no, Joe Milton is a top 5 pick next year, what are you saying?
Oh, absolutely. Anthony Richardson's nowhere near as good as he is, and just strictly on a combine workout, he went in the top 5.
I have the same answer. Yep. All the hype that Anthony Richardson got this year, you'll see the exact same thing said about Joe Milton next year. You
They'll
know,
be
I,
they'll be more excited because he's actually got skill. I mean, Anthony
well,
Richardson's just raw talent. He has zero skill.
and on the opening night of the draft, they showed the graphic on the screen of all the records that Anthony Richardson broke at the combine of long jump and high jump, and how he had a longer broad jump than wide receivers and all this kind of stuff. Well, you'll see the same graphic next year, except it'll say Joe Milton, and instead of other people's names the records he broke, it's going to say Anthony Richardson's record over and over and over. Because he's gonna break those records. Like, that's just the reality of Duke can jump out of the gym or arena in this situation. So that's gonna happen. And so based on what we saw this year with Anthony Richardson, I don't see how people could say the same thing won't happen next year with Joe Milton, because it's going to be Anthony Richardson amplified by 10, because everybody's going to be like, he's 6'5", 245, which is bigger than Anthony Richardson, and he had a higher vertical leap than Anthony Richardson, and he threw the ball farther than Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
And so all of you who are listening right now, watching right now, first of all, thank you for watching. We appreciate that very much. You all are the witnesses. You heard it here first. Joe Milton will be a top 5 pick next year, because Anthony Richardson was a top 5 pick this year, and Joe Milton's going to impress more people than him at the combine. So you heard it here first. You heard it here first, people. But we thank you all so much for watching with us. Man, this is so much fun. What a fun time to be a Vol. Hey, text a buddy. Danny White had a great idea. Text a buddy about the Vol Bros. Let him know we got some good stuff going on over here. I'm sure we'll be live soon. But we hope everybody has a great rest of your evening. Go Lady Vols. They're probably wrapping up their game right now. Hopefully they're winning.
Still in the bottom of the 7th. They're up 3-1.
How many outs do they have?
None. The bottom just started.
Oh, okay. So they're 3 outs away from another win. Yeah. But we hope everybody has a great evening, and we will see all of you very, very soon. Go Vols. I guess I should have had the cue thing already ready to go. The outro music. Oh, I got it now. All right. Live show, folks. I hope everybody has a great evening.